Okay, welcome back. I want to do a devotion on leadership and asking questions. I'm going to start in Genesis 3:9. Then the Lord God called to man, and he said to him, this is the first classroom, the first conflict, the first family fight, the first law being broken in the earthly government, the first rebellion, the first seduction, the first act of creativity not rooted in truth. It is all here for us to see what God is going to do to model to us how we should live as his image bearers. First, he goes personally to talk specifically to Adam, face to face, one-to-one, is where he begins. Second, he asks questions. The only being in the universe that doesn't have to ask questions. There are so many other things he could have done, but the first thing he does is vital. So we need to see what he is saying. It is not that he doesn't know where Adam is, but he is modeling to us how he wants us to deal with difficult situations in life. The single most powerful tool a person has in their leadership when dealing with difficult situations, no matter what domain you are in, is the ability to question and engage the other person in communication. We will never have the full picture, so start by gathering all the information that you can. Even when you think you know everything, invite the other person to speak up, raise their voice, and keep engaged. True questions, inquiry, limit judgment as they imply you are open to hearing, listening to their perspective. They are a way to be vulnerable and make the dialogue safe. It is a form of respect that you know they have a choice and need to be heard. Questions start people thinking and are vital to maintaining or rebuilding a relationship. Questions summon help and make space for others. It is the starting process of helping those involved to get ownership of their choices. I love Genesis because it's the first book, the book of firsts, and it's the story. And I love that early part there in Genesis where it's when sin has entered the world, we get God's perspective on what do you do when you're in an uncertain world? Everything's been turned upside down and life turns sideways on you. And as I said in the devotion, he could have done so many things. I mean, the humility of God. He realizes that we've opened a door now that is going to cost him severely, that's going to bring pain and suffering into the world. But he doesn't come in angry. He doesn't come in and smack Adam and Eve and say, you bunch of. He comes in and he begins right in that moment. And he says, okay, how can I redeem this moment? How can I model to you what you need to be able to do to grow through this so that we can begin the redemption process right there. Genesis chapter 3, verse 9, God begins redemption. He's beginning a process where he asks questions. He knows what's going on. He's aware of the implications of this choice, the phenomenal things that we have seen now in hindsight for the last thousands of years. And yet he slows down. He comes in person. Remember, this isn't something that you text. This isn't something that you send someone else to do for you. You show up personally in difficult situations, and you engage the person. And God models to us in his great humility, in his deep and complete, utter love of life. He asks questions. He asks 3 questions. We're not going to go into them right now, but what I want to do is encourage you. When you don't know what to do, ask questions. Go back, ask questions, become curious, because we get stuck because we have assumed a reality in a certain place. And once that reality is assumed, you can't question it. So go back, unearth, dig a little bit deeper. What am I assuming? What am I questioning? If I'm stuck, then I'm limited in perspective, and go back, find someone else who can see it. Say, how do you see the situation? Well, what do you see happening in this situation? Questions is the simple, most powerful tool. It's fascinating that when a child is brought into this world, God gave them one simple tool to help them do the most difficult task they'll ever do in their life. And that is learn a language, not from scratch, but with no language prior to that ability. In other words, they come in with no first language, and they have to learn the language, and the only tool God puts into them is a curiosity. And they ask questions. Why? Who? Where? How? Why? And then they go to school and they stop learning how to ask questions. But that's a different story. If you're stuck, if you don't know what to do, ask questions. Become curious. Become engaged. Recognize that your voice is important. And if you're dealing in a relationship, recognize that their voice is important. Begin to question. And out of that, you'll be surprised what will happen. Thanks. Have a great day. And may you ask good questions, effective questions today.